Gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to a Monday edition of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully everyone had a great weekend. It looks to be a fantastic week, especially weather-wise. You look outside and there's the sun, and it's supposed to be in the 50s today. And I think last Monday we were talking about it being in the single digits and wind chills and all that nasty stuff. So a much better week here in the Quad Cities. Hopefully everyone had a good weekend. It was a busy weekend of sports. I got a lot to get to today. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone watching, whether you're live on YouTube, live on Twitter, X. We appreciate that. We're getting close to 700 subscribers on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, it's free. I know the word subscribe kind of fools people every once in a while thinking they got to pay money. It's completely free. Go subscribe on YouTube. We appreciate it. It helps us out as well. Also, if you want to catch up on all the shows, or you missed this show and you want to check it out later, you can check us out on all of the podcasting platforms as well. So if there's a podcasting platform you cannot find Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, let me know. Reach out to me. We'll make sure we get on that one as well. We're on Apple, on Spotify, Podbean, you name it, iHeart, anything you can think of, we should be on, which is a very, very good thing. It is Monday, February 24th. A lot to get to on today's show. Coming up in a matter of minutes, it's Monday, which means it's an always Angerer Monday here on the show. Pat Angerer will join us in a matter of moments with a lot to talk about, and then some things I just have no idea what we're going to talk about, and they just end up happening. But Pat has plenty to get to. A big weekend of Iowa wrestling, so I want to talk to him about that and so much more. Big weekend in Iowa City in general, so we'll have former Iowa great and the color commentator for the Iowa football program, our good friend Pat Angerer, in a matter of moments. Coming up in a little bit later in hour number one, it was a huge Saturday night at the Carver Center. That place was rocking. It was the Augustana Vikings finishing up their regular season with a senior night victory over 11th ranked Illinois Wesleyan. Hats off to the Vikings. Hats off to those seniors, 9 seniors. Tyler Knuth playing well, had 23 or 24 points. I don't want to misquote myself, but 23 or 24 points for the senior. And they've earned themselves a 4 seed in the CCIW tournament, which means they get a home game on Tuesday night. So a lot of excitement around the Augustana basketball program once again. Jordan Delp doing a great year in his first year as the head coach of his alma mater. We'll be joined by Jordan Delp coming up in a little bit. We'll also talk to Jordan Delp about Brock Harding, because Brock had a good game for the Iowa Hawkeyes this past weekend. Brock also took to social media, kind of defending himself a little bit. We'll talk a lot about that throughout the show. Jordan Delp will weigh in on that in just a little bit, and much, much more when it comes to JD. We're excited to get him back on the show again. The Augustana men's basketball team with a home game in the CCIW tournament that comes up against Elmhurst on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Make sure if you have nothing to do on Tuesday night, or even if you do have something to do, cancel it. Get out to the Carver Center and support some good basketball. The Augustana Vikings playing really, really well right now. Also, in hour number 2 of the show, it was a big weekend of wrestling on both sides of the river, both in Des Moines and in Champaign. In Des Moines, a pair of Bettendorf Bulldogs are state champions once again. Bettendorf takes home a state second place finish as a team. 3-time state champion TJ Kessler, I should say, and 2-time state champion junior Jake Knight will join us later on in hour number 2 to talk about a special weekend for them up in Des Moines. And then also, last but not least, our good friend Don Umland will be along because there was a lot of controversy in the world of sports this weekend when it comes to officials, including the end of the Iowa women's basketball game with a moving screen that was not called. And there was an Arizona game that was awful. There was a call in the Northern Iowa game at the end of the game in overtime that was controversial as well. So a lot of controversy we'll talk about to Don about those calls, and then just the broad scope of late calls in a basketball game, when you swallow the whistle, whether you keep officiating normally the way you have. So it'll be good to catch up with our good friend Don Umland in the second hour of the show. So a lot to get to on another jam-packed edition of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo on a Monday. But we start our Mondays like we always do with a guy that looks like he's standing in a church with a huge glass window behind him. You look very saintly this Monday. Pat Anger joins us now. Hi, friend.
Yeah, I haven't been to church since the fire. They don't let me back. So
makes plenty
actually,
of sense.
Since my wedding.
Well, here's the beauty part, Pat, and you know this. I pray for you every weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Not saying I'm at church, but
I try to stay away from all those sinners, I just try to keep it clean.
Yeah. And we appreciate you staying away from us sinners. I do appreciate that. Hey, how was your weekend? We talked a little bit earlier. You seem cranky on a Monday, and that's trouble for us and the listeners and the viewers because you're that guy that's supposed to make us feel good on a Monday.
I'm extremely cranky. I've spent the last 2 weekends in Ames watching my kids get their ass kicked in a sport that I don't like.
That's why travel the 6 hours, Pat. What? I don't. Why?
I don't know. I tell you what I do love. You bet on Highway 30.
Yeah,
it's the best. You can drive as fast as you want. No one cares. There's no cars there. It used to be what 80 used to be like.
Yeah.
I want to move. I want to move to Highway 30 and just drive all day long. I love it. Other than that, that was the highlight of my weekend.
80's awful, freaking awful. Then the trucks, and they sit in the left lane, they don't move, and then you get cranky, and then your wife's like, you're following him too close. I'm like, well, because he's not moving fast enough. It's not my fault. It's his fault. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
At least your wife lets you drive. My wife doesn't. She drives too fast, and I drive too slow.
Mary does all the driving?
Yeah, which is interesting because she's got a little Tahoe, and she can't see over I don't think she can see over the steering wheel, but she drives 90 miles an hour.
Hold on. So you don't drive when you guys go on trips?
No. She refuses because I drive too slow, and she likes to get there fast.
Pat, we have to talk about this.
And I don't.
That's the opposite of every marriage I've ever heard in my life. I don't let my wife drive on vacations, and she gets mad because when I was young, my dad drove everywhere, and my mom would be like, hey, can I drive? And you had to be the man, and it wasn't being, you just no, I got it, it's what I do, and all that. You do the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Remember those drives at a young age when obviously no GPS, I don't know how anybody got anywhere, and then the mom would pull out this big map, and then she'd get cussed out by dad because she would be wrong, and it'd just be this big huge fight. Then he'd go stop at a gas station, and whatever that gas station attendant said was gospel, and you'd always end up getting lost. And it was just the amount of divorces that were created pre-GPS is insane. I'd love to see the stats there, divorce rates before GPS and after GPS.
It's probably that's spot on, because I can remember going into a gas station with my dad, and I'm not kidding. And they'd be like, go down 3 blocks, take a left. Then you're going to see a Hardee's. You're going to take a right there. You're going to go over these tracks. And I'm looking at my dad. God bless him. Not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Bless him. Awesome human being. And he's like, uh-huh. And we'd walk out of there, and I'd say, Dad, you don't know what they just said. You can't remember all that. And he'd go, I think I got it. But you know what? We ended up getting there. I don't know how we did, but we ended up getting there. You're taking it away from the fact that you don't drive and Mary does all the driving. That angers me. Well,
really?
I feel like you should step up and say, no, they're supposed to be, this is my wife. Every time we go someplace, she kicks her feet up on the dashboard because she's 5'1", and she's got her phone in her hand or whatever, and she's just chilling, having a good time, doing work or whatever. I feel like it's their time to catch up with life. And I feel like you don't do that for Mary, and that angers me, Pat.
Well, yeah, she does get a little car sick. So when she drives,
Okay.
she doesn't get car sick. And maybe I'm a bad driver that makes her car sick. But also too, I think a lot of it is her not wanting to take care of the other three kids in the car. And then I got to do that. And then I got to cuss them out, the whole 5 hours to wherever the hell we're going. And yeah,
You've really
it's
brought
tough.
this. You brought this show down quickly on a Monday. We're talking. Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We're talking divorce rates and yelling at kids and shitty basketball here on a Monday. We
Yeah.
appreciate. Did you get to do anything fun? Was there a good part of your weekend? Did you have a good meal? Did you guys eat someplace cool? Did you give me something here, man? Make me feel better.
There was a good pizza place we went to. I want to say it was like Great Plains or something like that in Ames. But pizza's pizza. But yeah, it was good. I mean, played a little euchre at the hotel. That was
Ooh.
I went undefeated. Drank some beer, some White Russians. That was good.
Pat, I'm the best euchre player ever
Not a
to put on the
chance.
place. I'm not even.
All right, well,
Who's your partner? Like, do you have a good partner?
any partner. But I'll tell you what, if you want to get beaten euchre, my wife is the most competitive card player in
Really?
America.
So,
And she got all the cheat codes and stuff, like she scratches her ear when she wants me to call it.
ooh. Mary
Yeah,
is
I
good
think
at
so.
cheating. I've heard that. I've heard Mary's good at cheating. I'm just saying. I don't know. No, I would never say that. I wouldn't say it like that. Jeez. At cards. Let me finish
Okay,
the
good.
sentence. At
All
cards.
right.
So are you playing single poker? Or not poker. Euchre. Are you playing singles or are you playing doubles with a partner?
With a partner.
Okay.
I don't know how to play singles.
Oh. Yeah, you can. It's more fun to play partner, but you can play 3-man
Yeah.
euchre. What's your best partner?
Are you one of
Your
the ones?
wife?
Do you call it up all the time? Are you the ones that call it all the time?
If I feel like I can get two pretty easy, then I will.
Yeah.
I'm not that
Yeah.
idiot that's just going to try to grind. I will tell you a good story. We were in college, and a buddy of mine, Todd Anderson, and I were playing these two clowns. They were younger than us in college, and we were getting our asses kicked. And so Todd, every time he would call it up, he'd take the blind as well. And so he'd just have 10 cards in his hand. And he'd play, and we went from being down like 12-0 to winning like 15-12, and they thought we were the greatest poker players in the world, or not poker, but euchre players in the world. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm like Mary. We can cheat a little bit as well. Who's your favorite euchre partner? Is it Mary?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
You
she's
guys
solid.
are so cute. You're so damn
Stop it.
cute. She drives
Well,
places. You
I'm dumb. She's smart. She's good looking. I'm not. So
Okay.
it's a yin and yang.
that makes decent sense. That makes decent sense. Did you guys basketball wise? Is it almost done? Like, are you getting down the stretch where?
Thankfully, it's done. Thankfully, and I was looking. You can look through the game change or whatever. My kids haven't. I mean, my kids started playing basketball this year. It was like October. This is before Halloween, and they're just getting done. Like, what is going on? And they still suck. I don't get it. If you do something for that long, you think you'd be good. I don't understand it.
Your poor kids. If you drive to Ames 2 straight weekends when they're in what grade? Is it 7th and 5th?
Yeah, yep.
They're going.
Yeah, thank
They're
you,
going to
I
the
think.
NBA. They're going to the NBA.
Yeah, no, not a chance.
They have to be. You're driving 6 hours to play basketball. They've got to be the best basketball players in the Quad Cities.
As you know, as a youth sports parent, we like to waste money.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, get ready because when's baseball start for you? Next weekend?
I don't want to think about that.
I
Yeah,
know.
but at least I'm outside and there's beer and you can drink during the games and enjoy yourself and get sunburnt. Like that's,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But gosh, baseball then, ugh, gosh, don't do this to me, Matt, on a Monday. Oh, I'm not ready for
Well,
baseball.
that's the thing too, is it's going to come quick, and then you complain about like basketball going long. You know damn well it's going to be like July 27th, and they're going to be like, "Hey, who wants to play one more tournament? One more tournament? Hey, we can get into this tournament at half price." God knows, God bless Jordan Rangel, but God knows there's a half off Hitman tournament somewhere that we can get the team into.
Yep.
It'll be great.
Yep.
So or JP and JP Sports. So
There's
yeah, it's
nothing
coming
worse
soon.
than like a 5 p.m. seventh place game in Des Moines, and you still got to mow the grass.
Yeah.
Like that's on a Sunday. That is the worst thing ever.
Do you mow your own grass? Don't tell me you do.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You know what? My favorite thing in the world to do is, I live out here, nice little country area. I get on the rider lawnmower with a bush light or
Oh,
two,
big money.
and it takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours to cut grass. But you have a beer on the mower, and you're just, maybe the sun's setting a little bit, but you're okay.
Oh.
And you put the headphones on and you get away from like the kids and stuff. And my wife will be like, "You should have the boys cut the grass." I'm like, "Don't take that from me. Don't take that from me. I need to get out of the house and go do things." So,
The hard part for me, we're on a corner, so like when I mow the grass, I get stopped like 7 times by people driving by that I know or whatever. So it takes me like 7 hours.
well, if
to
you
mow
put
the
a
grass.
shirt on, you wouldn't be worrying about that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, it's a lot of moms with the shirt off. A lot of moms will stop, and I don't blame them.
You have the shirt off, or the moms have the shirt off. I got confused. Me. You're confused.
They're driving.
Okay.
Shirts off for me.
Okay,
Nipple
for
rings
you.
are out.
For you. I love it. I love it. Did you get to watch any sports over the weekend? I have a sneaky suspicion you're pretty fired up about the Iowa wrestling team this morning. Is that
my
something
God.
that's going to get you through your Monday? That should make you happy.
Yes, it
Angelo
should. Yeah,
Ferrari's a badass.
dude. I watched the first couple. I was still driving. I watched the first couple matches from the car and almost drove off the road. I drove home. My wife wasn't with me. I was single driver this weekend. But yeah, dude, that was awesome. And what, like, if he doesn't win that match, we lose.
Yeah.
We lose the duel. And then Caliendo getting the major. A lot of people don't like Ferrari. The guy he wrestled was in the national championship match last year.
Third ranked guy
That's
in the nation. He's a stud.
Yeah, and Ferrari's a true freshman. Like, what a freaking beast! And I think he took all the shots. I don't think is it Plot? I don't think Plot took any shots. Ferrari was the aggressor. Like, that was so freaking awesome. What a legend he's creating. Amazing.
How cool was the bench and the environment during that? And people, I'll talk to some people. I gained a really big appreciation for wrestling right when I got into doing what I was doing out of college and covering sports at WQAD, because I didn't know a lot about it. And I remember I went to a wrestling room for the first time to do a feature story, and I was probably wearing a tie and a shirt because I'm an idiot and a dork back then.
You're sweating your ass off.
Not now. Oh my God, it was awful.
No.
Like, awful. And but people don't realize how cool those events can get, the meets can get. They think wrestling one-on-one, but the team's behind you. And Carver's packed watching that. I thought it was cool and the reaction from Ferrari when he got it done was great. It was just, it was the perfect combination of confidence and a little cockiness to kind of get that place jacked up and ready to go. And you mentioned it was the difference for Iowa winning a big meet last night.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, what he did, the point and then the three, I love the 3-point takedown. That's amazing. And it's still new to me. I'm still yelling 2 when it's actually 3. But yeah, man. I mean, I would have loved to have been in there. It sounded like the roof freaking got blown off in Carver Hawkeye Arena, and that's what they needed. I mean, they've been so close. And everybody was saying we were going to lose that duel, and even when Fry was wrestling, obviously Gabe Arnold, they're kind of going back and forth or whatever. Gabe was his biggest cheerleader. Gabe, if you see him on the bench, he was cheering for him. He was rooting for him. Like, that's family, that's brotherhood, that's Iowa wrestling, that's Iowa sports. So great for the Brands brothers, and obviously the most beautiful man in America, Ryan Morningstar, who's up there with Joe Conklin as far as looks.
And do you have a poem for Ryan Morningstar? You should work on that.
I do. I absolutely
I see
should.
you're
Right.
upstairs. Do you only become a poet when you go downstairs? Is that like a thing?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I was trying to come up with a terrible joke there, but yeah, just basically the basement is my poetry time.
Well, I know it's not this week, but in future weeks, I think we need more poetry. I had a lot of people reach out to me. T-Roy, our good buddy T-Roy, really enjoyed the poetry as well. So I think poetry someday should be good. So Carver was, what people don't realize, Pat, there's an echo in my ear all show.
You're a machine. I had that one game played in Maryland, and I'm actually set up the stuff, and it was one quarter. I could hear myself twice. It was so hard. It was absolutely impossible to do it. I don't know how you're doing it. You are a
I'm
true
getting
professional.
used to it. It's not overly bad. It's just a little delayed. And so sometimes when I sound like I've been drinking all day, I have been drinking all day, but it's also because of that as well. But Carver was rocking this weekend, Saturday and Sunday all day. The ladies played in there. Boy, they almost did it again. They lose to UCLA by 2 points. A controversial call at the end. Still had a chance to win it, but a controversial call. A weak, foul called on Lucy Olson after she was tripped after a illegal screen. It was a bad call. Do you have any moments in your life, because you go to social media and Twitter and everyone else, or X or whatever they call it, and it's woe is me, we got screwed. Do you have any calls that you remember, high school, college, pros, that you just can't get over, that you remember to this day and is like, man, that was BS?
Nothing that really sticks out. I mean, really, I always took the mindset like if the game is going to be judged by one call from a ref, then we didn't do our job. Obviously, the Iowa women had opportunities to win that game, and they didn't lose because of that one call. Yeah, the timing was bad, and it was a terrible call. She clearly tripped her on the screen. It was not good. And the refs can't decide the game, but also you can't put the refs in the position to decide the game, right? It's like in fighting, you can't leave it up to the judges. So yeah, unfortunate, terrible call, but that's not why they lost. They had opportunities there, and very valiant effort by the girls. I mean, just what a really good group. I think at beginning of the year they were on like a 3-game losing skid or something like that.
Like 6 games losing.
Wow,
it was like 5 or 6.
And
it got bad.
And they're tough, man, and they've got really good young players, and Lucy Olson is playing her butt off, and just a really good group. And I'm not surprised with the leadership that they have, because Jan is phenomenal.
So the Iowa wrestling team wins. The women, great effort, awesome environment. Some good news on Saturday. The Iowa men's basketball team, with a lot of controversy on how the future is going to be. And I know you watch the show every day, Pat. But last week we had Chad Leistico on, and he did a really good job, just like, laying out what Beth Getz has ahead of her, the decision she has with Fran and all that kind of stuff. So I encourage everybody to go watch that interview. Chad Leistico, as good as they get. I always say Chad Leistico is Tom Kakert, but good looking. Does that make sense?
It does.
They're both really good beat writers for the University of Iowa and all their athletics. It's just that one is a handsome fella and one looks like I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna stop there and move along. But anyways, the Iowa men's basketball team, against all odds, and a bunch of dudes that come off the bench, get the job done. They beat Washington. Feel good moment. Good crowd at Carver. That hasn't been said a lot for the men. Afterwards, my guy Brock Harding from Moline here in the Quad Cities, who had a good game, took to social media. I should find the tweet just so I don't make sure I don't say the tweet incorrectly. But basically, just kind of went back at the haters and said, y'all hate me no matter what I do. I really don't care what y'all got to say. Stay on that side. I don't want to ask you about the tweet and all that kind of stuff, but and we're going to talk to Jordan Delp about that later on in the show. Jordan and Brock are extremely close, but social media in general. Pat Anger is back on social media, and everybody loves it. He says stupid things. Everybody laughs. It's great. But there were several years where you left social media, or at least X or Twitter. What are your thoughts on social media, X, all that kind of stuff when it comes to athletes and what do you say, keyboard warriors and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, I guess first, it does say a lot about Fran, the fact that, I've got the single shot. That's great.
You look good.
It says a lot about Fran and the players, the fact that, I mean, they were down early in that game against Washington, and they stuck together and they came back and they fought and they won. So, props to Fran's leadership, props to the guys for coming together. That's impressive. The hard part, with that tweet, and I'm so lucky and happy that when I played, like, social media wasn't a big deal. It wasn't anything. It was, these kids have so many distractions. They've got the NIL, they've got all this stuff, they've got the social media, they've got their brands or whatever the hell, all that. I'm glad I didn't have that. The hard part is when you, as a player, acknowledge it then then they kind of win, right? Hey, I don't care, but I'm also acknowledging it. Well, it kind of shows you care a little bit. And what I would tell these kids, I would tell them, hey, don't read the good and don't read the bad because it doesn't freaking matter, right? Don't take advice from, or don't let somebody hurt your feelings or whatever that you wouldn't take advice for. Like, just don't worry about it. And it's a lot easier said than done, right? Because it's in your face. They're getting alerts all the time and all that. And Brock's an amazing player. I mean, what was he? Illinois Mr. Basketball. Like, the dude's a machine. He's doing all right. So don't worry about anything anybody else on the freaking internet says, good or bad. It doesn't matter. Focus on what you can control.
It's funny because I'm not a professional athlete or a college athlete, although I may look like one and shoot like one. But it's the same thing with what I did in my past life. And, you go on social media or you get emails and people complain. I remember one time just recently, it would probably be 2-3 years ago, somebody complained about, it was Rock Ridge, and I love Rock Ridge, and I probably gave more coverage to Rock Ridge than anybody. And they played Rock Island basketball on a Saturday night, and they beat Rock Island. And we had a scoreboard because it was state wrestling in Iowa, state wrestling in Illinois, a bunch of other postseason basketball. Augie played. I mean, there was just a ton of stuff. Iowa. We probably had 10 minutes of sports, and somebody took to social media and was like, and called my name out, like, what an embarrassment, blah, 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 blah. And my wife read it. I didn't even see it. And my wife was furious. And I'm like, who cares? And she knows me, and usually I get pretty fired up about anything. And she was like shocked that I didn't care. And I'm like, I learned a long time ago that, like, you just can't listen to anybody. And I did. It bugged me. And that's the thing with maybe Brock is, he's 19 years old. He's 20 years old,
Correct.
Whatever he is. So like me back then, I remember when I was first doing it and I would be like, how dare you? And I'd send an email back that probably wasn't the best worded toned email. And I'd fire back. And like, it just doesn't matter to me now. I always used to say there's imaginary television where like, people just see what they want to see, but they don't see what actually happens and what we're running. Kind of the same thing with Brock Hurting, and not Brock, but just college athletes in general. It's they can easily sit down and their name doesn't make any sense. It's some made up account or whatever, and say what they want to say and do what they want to do. Do you like being back on social media?
Oh yeah, I mean, for what I'm doing, it's awesome. I love it. It's amazing, and obviously, and it's good to be back. It's good to be back around. Obviously, see a lot of accounts that I talked with. Well, back before I was off, and being on social media is great. I mean, I'm not playing, I'm not coaching, I'm just hanging out with Dolph in the booth. So I'm sure people probably get annoyed at stuff that I say and do in the booth, but I'm not really reading it. I mean, for me, and just like these players, like for me, like, whatever Dolph says or whatever Corey says, or whatever the people at Learfield says, like, that's who I have to worry about what they say. And for these athletes, they've got to, instead of worrying about everybody on social media, you focus on what your coaches say and what your teammates say, and that's who you're accountable to. And it's tough too. Now obviously the fans are they're invested more. They're invested financially. Not only just from buying tickets to the game, but obviously with the swarm and all that stuff. So there's probably a little bit more, a little bit more ownership from these fans now, and they feel like, hey, I've invested my money, I've got to speak out, and I understand that from their perspective. But from a player's perspective, it's like, hey, dude, don't worry about it. Like, control what you can control. And I know Brock is working his ass off, and I mean, obviously they've got something really good with this team just due to the fact that they've stuck together through all this, and that's really impressive, and use that to become stronger, and really, don't worry about anything other than your teammates and your coaches, because really at the end of the day, you look at the Brett Greenwood situation, right? Like, who's going to be there when you come out of a coma? Is it the guy that's talking crap online, or is it your teammates that would die for you? And that's what you got to freaking worry about. Dang,
that's good. That's well done. I was going to make a joke about Corey Sheets lying to you and telling you you're doing a good job when you were probably, I didn't see any, was there any like negative criticisms of you when you started? Did anybody? I know you said you didn't read it, but did anybody say, "Hey, some guy said this, some guy said that"? Nobody. I didn't see anything that said like, "Boy, Anger's lazy eye is really bad" or anything like that.
No, I mean, I didn't go searching for it, but I'm sure there is, and I'm sure there's warrant to it. I'm sure there's things that I do and say that people get annoyed of. And rightfully so. I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So yeah, whatever they say, I'm sure there's probably some merit there. But yeah, I mean, I also do think, a critic can kind of be your best friend if they're not super destructive, but really you've got to kind of make sure the critic is somebody you hold in high regard.
Gary Dolphin tweeted, "I wish the guy next to me would stop threatening to kiss me." At one point, I don't know what that tweet was all about, but
he's like, I don't know if you're serious or not, but please stop saying you're going to kiss me. I'm like, all right, Gary.
It's the best. That's one of my favorite stories ever. The Fighting Illini, your Fighting Illini. I know you love the Illini. They lost to Duke 110-67, I believe, a 43-point loss. The worst loss in program history. Iowa plays Illinois on Tuesday, which tomorrow's show will have Ked Prince and Tom Kakert breaking that whole thing down, yelling
going back to back.
They might actually fight. Like I'm thinking about getting like a wrestling ring or something. Maybe some mud. Maybe mud. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. You don't need to see that. But so yeah, we'll preview that game tomorrow, which is frustrating, Pat, because you've grown up in this area. I don't know what it's like on the Iowa side as much as the Illinois side, but I think in the Quad Cities in general, that's a huge rivalry. I know Iowa State is a big one, but Iowa-Illinois is a big one. And this year, it's like nobody's happy. Both fan bases think they suck. And they it's like you can't even make fun of each other. They're like, well, no, we're worse than you are. No, you're worse than we are. That's no fun, right? I want to see some. I want to see some fire.
Yeah, I thought Illinois was good. I have no idea. I thought they were good at basketball.
No, I guess not recently. But anyways, they lost by 43 points.
Oh,
is there any ass kickings that you can think of from your playing days? You gave the political answer for the bad call thing. So is there any games that you're like, man, that was just humiliating. I can't get off this field fast enough?
Yeah, actually, the day before my oldest son was born, we played Sunday Night Football, the only game on TV. We were playing the Saints. It was 2011, and we lost by like 60 points. And we're coming off the field after they scored their 700th touchdown, and the coaches are like, "You got to do something." I'm like, "I don't know what to do. We have no idea what to do. Just you put us in a different defense." We couldn't get off the field on defense. We couldn't stay on the field on offense. The only positive with that is my son was born. My son was born the next day, so I didn't have to go watch film.
Oh,
that was good.
You should be thanking Kale for that every single day of your life. It's the nicest thing he's probably ever done for you.
And then the next day after Kale was born, then it's back to work. There's no parental or whatever the hell leave in the NFL after you have a baby. You got
paternity. I think they call it paternity leave.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Was that Drew Brees just slicing you guys apart, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because McAfee played, and that was a terrible year. We were 2-14 or whatever. McAfee was our scout team quarterback that week, and he tore us apart. So I kind of knew we were screwed.
Did he let you know about it when he tore you apart?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I remember him being like, "Man, hopefully Drew Brees isn't as good as me." He was better.
I love it. Anything you didn't lose much at Bettendorf, and I'm assuming you didn't lose much at Iowa, did you?
No.
Is there a loss at Iowa? And I will let you go here soon. But is there a loss at Iowa that still like pisses you off? Might not be an ass kicking or something that you got beat bad, but was there a game that you're just like, I want that one back, I want that play back, I want that whole thing back?
Yeah, there's many games. Losing to Illinois in 2008, like that, they weren't a good football team, and they beat us.
You lost to Illinois.
Losing to Michigan State, yeah. Losing to Michigan State in 2008, like that, we were better than them, and they beat us. And losing to Northwestern my senior year. finally we played a good game on defense, held them to I don't know how many points, and Rick had gotten hurt, and we just couldn't get it moving, and there were a couple missed tackles by me on some key situations, and then losing to Ohio State in overtime. They were a really good football team. Terrell Pryor was 9 feet tall and ran a 4.2 and stiff arm you from 40 yards away. That was, but still, like I didn't play good. When we lose, and I when I coach, like I tell my kids, when I coach, I say, as a coach, when you lose, you should, blame yourself. And as a player, when you lose, you should blame yourself, really. So when I'm coaching, I'm telling them, hey, you should have the mindset, hey, coaches didn't prepare us or whatever. I'm going to take ownership here. But when I'm a player, I should look back and think, hey, what are some things that I should do differently, and how should I prepare myself better? So every time we lost, I always looked at the 5 to 10 plays that I had that could have made a difference in the game. So yeah, if I would have done better in all those games, we wouldn't have lost.
Look at you. You're so
sorry.
responsible sometimes. And then sometimes you talk about your wife driving all the time and cheating on you. Like, it's just, you never know what's going to come out of your mouth. It's kind of fun. Hey, I do got to tell you before you go, last week we talked about, our impending horse game, the whole freaking Quad Cities.
Yeah. What's going on? You're still ditching me,
The
huh?
whole Quad Cities is talking. One, I'm not. Two, we have to figure out a way to record it. And back in the day when I worked at WQAD, I would just say, hey, can one of all these people that know how to record things do it? I got to figure out some way to get it done. We'll get it done. And
we can't get Wheezy? We can't get Wheezy, huh?
I think so, but you got to remember, he's an exclusive dude, man. Like, I don't know if he can do what he can do and what he can't do. He's so talented and good looking.
That's very true. He's the best.
Yeah.
Wheezy's the best.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, he's a great realtor. He's a really good realtor.
When
When I was in mortgages, he was on a couple deals and just a phenomenal job.
You guys are very similar personalities. I think that's why you might like him. But anyways, I played basketball yesterday, Pat, again. Remember last week I said I'm not good?
You're practicing.
Remember last
Are you
week I
good
said
now?
I'm not good? I almost cursed. I was amazing. Like, I was amazing.
Wow.
Like, I'll say this. None of these guys are watching this thing, but it was me, my 15-year-old son, my buddy Andy McKay, and 2 other guys against the best 5 players ever put on the court. Like, amazing. It might as well have been the dream team. And we won 20-11. I hit 3 threes. Charlie hit 3 threes. And then another guy got a bucket inside, and we won. I'm amazing. So I'm so confident right now. And then the other thing I want to talk to you about is the shaving the head thing for me is like a thing. But like a lot of people of this whole, like, you in a dress with a sign on a corner.
Where's the dress? The dress? What's the dress thing? Why'd you just throw the dress in there?
You gotta wear a dress.
I'm not wearing a dress. I'm not wearing a dress. They don't make those in 3X.
Oh yeah. Oh yes,
No.
they do. You know better than that. No, yes. Why no dress?
That wasn't agreed. That wasn't the handshake. We didn't handshake on this.
I just slipped that in. You didn't hear that part?
Yeah, there will be no dress.
Okay, what about like a Cyclone jersey or an Iowa State shirt?
No, I'm not wearing that crap. No way. Not a chance.
We got to reevaluate everything.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just shave the sides of my head and keep my hair on top.
How about I just don't beat you up? How about that? How about that's if you beat me, I just don't beat you up.
Don't say beat.
How about
you
we
up.
do that?
I kick your ass. Don't say beat you up. You sound like you're in 2nd grade. I'm gonna beat you
Dude,
up.
meet me at the flagpole at 5:00 and let's do this.
Oh, the flagpole. Okay, yeah, no, we're not going to the flagpole. That's never happening. Okay, we'll reevaluate. We'll figure things out. It's gonna happen, but I feel much more confident about what's going on. Last thing before I let you go, because you're a busy guy today. You got a sick kid. You actually have to work. And you just got back from watching great basketball all weekend. Next Monday, I got an announcement that I want you to help me with.
Oh.
It's on the greatest event in the history of the Quad Cities during the summer.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Are you in?
For the announcement or for the event?
Everything.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Yeah,
I'm all ears.
I love it. So yeah. So next week we got to figure out a creative way to do that and to announce that to the world because it's going to be fantastic. So
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Anything else before we let you go? I feel like I've helped you today. Usually you help us, but you look like you're in a better mood now than when we started the interview, the conversation, the segment, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, but then now I'm just thinking back to this weekend being in Ames and my kids just shooting 3-pointers and missing them all the time instead of just taking it in and shooting
Don't
layups,
say
which
that.
would be so easy.
Your kids aren't bad at basketball.
Yeah, they're my kids, so it's not like there's potential there if they grow like another 10 feet, but I don't know. I just wish they were wrestlers. I just really do.
None of them wrestle.
No, that's the only wrestling and soccer were the only two sports I forced on them, and now they don't do any of them.
You'd think that Emmett would love to wrestle. He seems like a wrestler.
He was a good little wrestler when he wrestled for 2 or 3 years. He only went to practice once a week during the season, and would win tournaments and do all right. I was telling him on the drive home. I was trying to talk him into wrestling after the basketball. I'm like, dude, you were so good at wrestling, man. Like you were awesome, and we barely went to practice. And he's like, Dad, I just get tired when I wrestle.
Why do you
I'm like,
talk
yeah, well, I
like
get tired
that?
watching you. I get tired watching you guys run up and down the damn court and miss threes.
I love it. I love the fact that this angers you so much. Hey, baseball's right around the corner. You'll be drunk. And the best part about baseball is if your kid strikes out, you can just go out to the car and get another beer. And you don't have to you can just disappear. I'm going to go check out Dazzo's kid over on the other field. He's probably striking out too. I could find Misery Loves Company.
It's funny. Well, it's just funny because I've got a 13-year-old and we've been doing this for a while. And it's like, I'm at the point where it's just like, whatever. But then you go watch a coach pitch game and it's just parents are they're fresh into it. They're all fired up. They're not beat down by the youth sports yet. And then you go to a 13U game or whatever. And everyone's just like, oh, is the game over? What happened?
Yeah. I know that. I got one that's completely through it. I feel like I can do better with the last two than the first two because I know more about what happened. And it is, you mentioned, I'll see a younger parent for my younger kids and they'll be I don't want to say psychos, but they'll be crazy. Yeah. And I'm just we're talking about AU baseball. I promise you my 15-year-old that's playing high school baseball doesn't remember anything about the AU year, which team he made, how many outs he got, who his hitting coach was, none of that. The best part is I found out this weekend, my oldest son, can't have a hitting coach or any outside coaches while playing high school baseball, which I think is awesome. It makes sense. They want to coach their kids. They don't want to. And I love that because here's everybody scrambling around to make sure their kids get all these. All I did is they came home and I was like, sweet, I'm going to save this much amount of money on hitting over the next whatever months because I don't have to send them to it. So, all right, buddy. Well, get busy with your day. Hopefully your daughter's feeling well and she doesn't share it with the rest of the house because it's awful.
Oh, that'll happen.
We'll
be sick
Monday,
for the next 2 weeks now.
Next Monday, huge announcement. Plus, maybe we'll play some basketball by then. We'll figure it out.
I'm excited, man. You gave me new life today. I appreciate that.
All right, pal. Tell everybody goodbye.
Love you. Goodbye.
Right, see you, pal. That is the one and only Pat Anger. It's always Anger on Mondays here in the Quad Cities on Off the Air. Coming up after the break, it was a huge weekend for the Augustana men's basketball program. Jordan Delp and company finishing the season with a victory against 11th ranked Illinois Wesleyan. They are the 4th seed in the CCIW tournament. They get a home game coming up on Tuesday. We'll talk about a special weekend. We'll also look ahead to that and talk to Jordan Delp about much, much more. You're watching Off the Air on a Monday. Don't you dare go away.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Monday here in the Quad Cities. A fun Monday, a good Monday coming off a great weekend of high school basketball and college basketball. And it was a big Saturday night at the Carver Center. Nothing better than when the Carver Center is rocking. And we're joined now by the head coach of the Augustana Vikings, Jordan Delp. Jordan, thank you first and foremost for joining us. It was a great senior night and what's been a great end of the season so far for Augustana. First and foremost, congratulations. We thought might be your last game at the Carver Center. It's not. We'll talk about that more in a second. But congrats on the senior night victory against a really good Illinois Wesleyan team.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again for having us on here tonight. We really appreciate all you do. I know we just talked about this pretty recently, actually, but appreciate you thinking of us. And we're quite excited to have some postseason basketball back here at the Carver Center and to be able to earn that, because we earned it on Saturday night by beating a team who has given us troubles, who beat us up a little bit earlier in the year and is a highly ranked team in the nation. And to have them come in front of the type of crowd and in the type of atmosphere that our community generated the other night was a heck of a way to send those seniors out in style. And we talked about how ending that regular season with a 10-2 record at home was just a huge thing for our seniors to hang their hat on, and for us, the rest of us, to continue building on as we move forward.
Yeah, it was electric at the Carver Center. Jordan, I've always talked about that place when it's full and it's rocking is like no other. And I'm not talking D3, and I know people think I'm being cheesy, but you go to any environment, some of the best environments in college basketball are the smaller, intimate environments. Talk about Saturday night's environment, because that fan base against a really good Illinois Wesleyan team, they made a difference in that game, didn't they?
100%. It was a special environment for a number of different reasons, but really, our student section was a huge impact down there in that East End where we've got them now, and they were just all over them all night long and really made a difference. But that was just one section. The rest of the stands were all packed as well, and it was loud in there, and they were responding at the right times and to the right things. It was very much an old school Carver atmosphere, and something that I'm so thrilled that our guys got to experience, because it's a really unique place to play when you're able to generate that type of support. And we are so appreciative of everyone who came out to support us on Saturday, and sure hope that they'll be able to make it out on Tuesday to support us again in a huge postseason game at home Tuesday at 7.
Absolutely. You look at it, JD, and you got a team like Illinois Wesleyan that put it on you the first time around, and they're good. They're ranked 11th in the nation, and they've been in the top 5 in the nation. To do what your guys did against that team, and you lost to them by 30 early in the year, to flip it and turn it and knock them off, I'm doing math in my head, by 9 points. What, I know you can't just put a finger on one thing, but what were some of the things that made the difference between a month ago and now?
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of a turning point for us in our season, and we really felt like we weren't prepared or willing or able to punch back in that first time, or in that first outing down there, and played them okay in the first half, and we're down 29-23 to end the half, but then came out of that second half and they punched first, and we weren't ready to punch back. And so our biggest message, our last message to our guys was, punch first, punch back, and punch last. And we knew that no matter how well we may play for any number of time, at some point, a team as talented as they are, with as much experience and as disciplined as they play, we knew they were going to make a run at some point, and we knew we had to be ready to punch back. And to our guys' credit, they stuck together and they kept coming, and they really found a way to not only extend our lead, but also be ready to stem the tide when things weren't necessarily going our way. And I think we've come a long way on that front. And to see the type of energy, the type of enthusiasm, and the type of execution that we played with, I'm not sure we had all three down. I know we didn't have all three down there. We did it on Saturday night, and it led to a big victory for us for sure.
It was senior night, a special group of seniors, I think 9 seniors playing their last regular season game at the Carver Center. We got one more to get to on Tuesday, but you look at this thing, and Tyler Knuth has been special his entire time here at Augustana. To end the way he did, to get that victory in the last regular season game, 24 points, and boy, there's a laundry list of fantastic players of late, and going back a ways, that's been in Augustana College. He ranks up there with a lot of some of the best when it comes to the legacy that he's leaving. To get a legacy victory like that for that young man, what has he meant to yourself, this program, especially this year?
Yeah, I mean, Tyler's decision to come back was a huge decision that has really impacted our program for sure, clearly, right? He's one of the best players in the entire nation. And I don't say that lightly, but it's true. Tyler Knuth is one of the best basketball players in the entire nation at our level. And he has made a huge impact on us all the way around. And so for him to have the type of success, certainly down the stretch here, I mean, he has been going gangbusters here for a while. And not just this past week when he had 35 and then when he had 23 last night, but even before that, he has been elevating his play as we've come down the stretch, like great players do and like we need seniors to. Okay. And so for him to be able to come out and score the first 12 points of the game for us and play with a bunch of aggression and really set the tone was just a huge thing. And especially, right, he had 8 points for us down there. Right. And so he came out and he knew he wasn't going to let that happen again. And yeah, I mean, obviously, again, we knew it was potentially the last the last home game we would get to play this year. And we wanted to make sure that wasn't the case. And one of our goals to start the year was to host a postseason CCIW tournament game at the Carver Center. And we backed into the tournament last year, and that didn't turn out well for us. And there's ways that we could have backed into it still this year, but that was not the goal, and that was not what we were planning on doing. And so for our guys to go out and stay in attack mode from tip to buzzer and to really impose our will in terms of what we wanted to do was encouraging. And I couldn't be more thankful that Tyler Knuth decided to spend the 5th year for us.
You look at it, Coach, joined right now by Jordan Delp, head coach of the Augustana Vikings. You look at this thing, 6-7 down the stretch, 4 out of 5 since coming on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. I don't want to take all the credit. You're doing some good work. Your players are contributing it as well. I just want an assist. But what has it been down the stretch? And it's not like it was bad before, and you're always wanting more. I know you, but what have you seen from your guys down the stretch that has kind of triggered this nice run as we get ready for postseason play?
Yeah, I think, I say this all the time, but the way that we've stuck together and kept coming has been huge. And we've been through adversity. And the reason I bring that up right now is, again, every coach has a little bit of coach speak and there's cliches in there, but I'm a big believer that every butterfly has to be a caterpillar first. And we got, we had some lumps and it took us some time, but we really try to lock in on being a little bit more connected and a little bit better every single day. And so our guys' ability to focus in and adhere to those values has really helped us hit our stride and play our best basketball here late in the year. And I think you've seen us continue to defend at a high level like we've always tried to pride ourselves on and like we started the year with. We really have rebounded the basketball well. For us to end the year second in our conference in rebounding margin is just a huge accomplishment for our program and a huge feather in the cap of our guys, because you look at our roster, we ain't the biggest team around, right? But we were just relentless rebounding the basketball. And then I think as we've kind of mixed our rotation up a little bit and we found some more consistency in how we're trying to play on that front, it's allowed our offense to really kind of come alive a little bit more. And we've made a lot of strides on that side of the ball down the stretch that has helped complement some of those things we've been doing all year from a defensive and rebounding perspective. So I think we've kind of peaked a little bit, and hopefully we still have more of that mountain to climb. That's the plan. But I think those things have conspired to help us kind of, again, really play our best basketball here down the stretch.
JD, you kind of mentioned it, but it's a mental thing as much as a physical thing sometimes. And when you go through those struggles, some young people, struggle getting through it or fighting through it. You guys didn't. What does it say about this group mentally wise or mentality wise that they continued to battle during the tough times? And obviously yourself, your coaching staff especially, get some of that credit, but these young men deserve a lot of credit as well, because it's easy to I don't want to say quit, but it's easy to give in if time gets tough. And your guys didn't do this year at all.
Yeah, one of our first messages to our guys is how not buying in and not giving it everything you have is actually a form of protection. It gives you an out. It gives you an excuse. It allows you to say in the post, kind of after the dust is settled, it allows you to say, well, if I had given it a little more, if I had truly given it everything I had, we would have won out and we would have been great. And it gives you that built-in excuse. Right? We haven't allowed our guys to do that. And to their credit, they have continued to fight through all of that adversity and stick together. And so, when they leave it all out there, when they empty the tank, like we like to talk about, well, man, it just goes a long way towards us being able to impose our will. And so I think that was a big part of our ability to continue improving, was the grit and the resilience that our guys have shown throughout their entire careers here. And that experience has helped shape them into guys who can handle adversity. And that doesn't mean we're going to be perfect at it, right? We never are. But it does mean that we're going to continue to try to move forward and continue to try to improve and handle those setbacks with more toughness, with more resilience. And I think we've done a great job of doing that. And we've been able to get over ourselves and get into our teammates, right? We talked a lot at the beginning of the year about the fact that we only have 200 minutes every night that we can distribute. And we got a lot of talented guys. And there's no way that all of those guys are going to be happy with the decisions that we make. It's just not going to happen. But I think we talked about this the last time. We discussed that they can be pissed, but they have to remain professional. And they have to continue to do their job, and they have to continue to invest in their teammates. And to our guys' credit, they've done that to a man up and down the line.
It's worked out well, especially towards the end. Now you turn to Tuesday night, an Elmhurst team that, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to do my date in my head. Less than 2 weeks ago, you had at the Carver Center in a really good basketball game, came down to the wire. I think you won by a bucket. It's going to be a challenge come Tuesday night. How do you get prepared? What are you telling your guys now? I know a Sunday night practice, you'll practice on Monday. What's the message you're giving your guys right now?
Yeah, the first message was that everybody's 0-0 at this point, right? There is no more record. The regular season is gone. It's over. That's done. Okay, it allowed us to host this CCIW game, but from here on, it's 0-0, and it's win or go home time for us. And so we discussed how we have to be ready to empty the tank, and how it's a new record, but it's the same goal. And we have to continue to play Augustana basketball at the level that we know is going to be required to keep this going, right? And then we also have to make sure that we continue to respect our opponent. We played with a ton of fire last night, and we played with all that energy and enthusiasm and execution that we discussed. But one of our messages was that we have to ensure that that's not contingent on the opponent that we're playing. That's not contingent on the crowd that's in the Carver Center. That's not contingent on the circumstances we may be in, good or bad. That has to be our identity, and that has to be who we are, no matter what else is going around us. Right? And so we can't be satisfied with what we've accomplished or what we did. This is a new season. This is a new group, and this is a new challenge that we have to face together. Right? Our last message last night was, we can enjoy this tonight, but that sun's coming up tomorrow, and we got to go back to work. And Elmhurst does not care that we got to win on Saturday. They could not care less. That has no bearing on what happens on Tuesday. And Elmhurst is a very well-coached team and a very disciplined program who has been in these situations a lot over the past few years. And if we think it's going to be a cakewalk, well, we don't, and we won't, and we will never allow that. We have to go out and earn it, and we have to continue to be about the work that's going to prepare us to be successful. We don't play results here. It's time for us to go back to work and prepare for a tough assignment coming in here on Tuesday.
When Elmhurst comes in on Tuesday, I have a sneaky suspicion they'll be greeted by a pretty spirited Carver center. And I know that's something that you can feel and smile about as well. What do you expect Tuesday night? Because Saturday night was awesome, and it's that kind of environment and that kind of payoff that I think fans are going to want to come back and see on Tuesday night.
Yeah, you sure hope so, right? And we're going to do some things, and we're going to try to promote, and we're going to try to make sure that those fans that were here and some of the others that couldn't make it all know how impactful they are and they were and how much we need them back on Tuesday. And this is a great opportunity to do so as well, so I appreciate that. But yeah, we're sure hoping that with postseason basketball back here at home in the Carver Center, that this Augustana community and the Quad City community at large will support our guys like we always have in the past, and certainly like we did on Saturday night. Now, like I just said, our energy, our enthusiasm, our execution cannot be dependent on what that looks like, right? So we are going to focus on what we have control over, and we're going to lock in on trying to be the best team that we can be, and we're sure going to hope that Carver Center is rocking and we get to play in front of a similar crowd that we did on Saturday for sure. But until that point, we just got to go back to work and try to be as prepared as possible.
It is Elmhurst and Augustana at the Carver Center, 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Get out to it. JD, you've played on that court. You've coached now, but you've played there. How special is it for these seniors to get one more time? Because you have to prepare. That's senior night. You don't know what you're going to expect, what's going to happen. I mean, I think if somebody told you get one more game at the Carver Center, you'd probably take it right now. How excited are you guys to get to play at home one more time here in the postseason?
Well, yeah, like I mentioned, it was one of our, I think we had 9 goals I think we ended up with to start the year. And one of them was to be able to host a home CCIW tournament game, whatever that might mean. And obviously we were hoping to host the whole thing, but that's not the way it played out. And we've earned the opportunity to host this one. And again, anytime you get to play on your home court, that's a heck of a thing, right? I mean, and certainly at this place in particular, yeah, it can be a pretty special environment and a pretty special opportunity for our guys. I've played big regular season games. I've played big CCIW tournament games. I've played big NCAA tournament games in this gym. I've watched some even bigger ones as well, right? And it is a special place when it gets rocking. And we sure look forward to having our guys have one last opportunity, most likely, to be able to go out and play their games in front of the best fans in the country.
Jordan Delp joining us right now. JD, when you're on the show, I got to talk to you about a bunch of other things. I can't just focus on Augustana, although Augustana, that's fantastic as is right now. But you've been around this area for some time, and you've coached and worked with some of the best. And everyone that I talk to kind of tells me these guys like Chasen and Brock and all those guys say you're just as important mentally as you are when it comes to the basketball side of things and the relationships you formed. I'm a huge Brock Harding guy. I've known the family for a long time. Brock had a great game this past weekend, played really well, took to social media and kind of, you know, and we talked about it early in the show. Let me grab the tweet right now so I don't misquote or anything like that. But he said, "Y'all hate me no matter what I do. I really don't care what y'all got to say. Stay on that side." And when people sent that to me the other day, I just said, well, that's a Brock Harding tweet. That's Brock. That's how he motivates, all those kind of things. When you hear about, and you know the young man very well, your thoughts on Brock maybe taking to social media and fighting back a little bit to any of the haters or critics that are out there.
Yeah, so for our guys here, and something that I've always tried to stress and pride myself on is, you know, as players, we're going to prioritize what they need to do to improve and how that kind of blends into our entire team. right? And how we can most help them be successful for us and within the context of that team, right? But as men, we're always going to prioritize what they need individually first, and that's always going to supersede anything on the court for sure, right? And so first and foremost, when I see something like that, I get a little concerned about the man and want to make sure that he's doing okay and that he is in the right mental mindset and focused on the right things. Again, kind of like what I just said, focused on the things he has control over, right? And there is a huge vocal minority out there that we can focus on and that we can get locked in on and really start to kind of miss the forest for the trees a little bit and lack the clarity of knowing that the vast majority of those people have our backs and support us, right? And so I think one of the first things I would have said if I had known this was coming was, take 5 minutes and just take a breather and see if after 5 minutes you still feel like maybe that's something you want to send, right? And it is what makes Brock who he is, right? That stubbornness, that stick-to-itiveness, that chip on his shoulder has always served him well and will always continue to serve him well as we move forward. The only thing I would say to him right now, outside of some things I'll keep closer to the vest and private between us, is, what does that help? And who does that serve? And that is just inviting more of those things that you're trying to combat a little bit, right? And so I would just try to get him to continue to focus on those things he has control over and getting into his teammates. Same thing we kind of talk about in our games, like when things get chippy, right? Well, we can't put ourselves in a position to make things worse for ourselves or for our team. We have to get back to investing in our teammates and those sort of things, again, that we have control over. I would tell him, you can have that mindset, and you should, and that served you well, and that doesn't matter, but the world doesn't need to know about it. And I think that's something that I touch with, honestly, right? Because I didn't have to live with this social media world when I was a player, and I didn't have to deal with some of those things. And as you can tell by my social media presence or lack thereof, it's not something that I necessarily prioritize, and certainly not as much as I should. But, I just think he has to continue being who he is. Right. One of the things that I tell our guys that we're recruiting, guys who I believe in, the players that I've worked with, is just, go be you, go be great, go dominate. And don't worry about anything else. And just focus on those things and the rest will take care of itself. And just block out that vocal minority of people whose opinion don't really matter to you. Right. And if you're not going to ask for somebody's advice, you shouldn't really care what their opinion is anyway.
No, that's a great point. Can you give us a little insight on how Brock ticks? Because you spend a lot of time with him. I feel like I know how he ticks. I've known the family forever. I know Brock to an extent, but I ain't been in the gym with him nearly as much as you have. His jump shot might be a little better if I got in the gym with him. I'm just saying, but no, I'm kidding. How does Brock tick when you see him, when you work with him? I don't think people fully understand how motivated of a young man that kid is. Can you kind of talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I would, and this might be a little bit of semantics, but I would argue that he's not motivated, he's disciplined, right? And motivation a lot of times is external and is fleeting and is something that we have to kind of search out, right? Discipline is when you can choose to do those things that you need to do, especially on the days when you don't feel like you want to do it, right? And so there are plenty of it's similar to the conversation we had before, right? Winning is unreasonable, okay? And those guys who do those things don't look at what they have to do as unreasonable. They look at it as just second nature and what must be done to accomplish the things that they want to accomplish. And so I think Brock is one of the more disciplined people in terms of prioritizing what he must do first, what he needs to do second, and only doing what he wants to do after those first two things have been satisfied. And so he is very clear and very sure of who he is and who he wants to be. And he's not going to let anything get in the way of the work he needs to put in to get to that level and to continue growing as he moves forward. And I think that discipline and that ability to, generally speaking, I suppose after that tweet, block out the noise and just keep going back to work is something that has served him well over the course of his time. He is one of the biggest competitors that I've ever met, that I've ever been around, and not just with those guys across from him, but with himself as well. And if he feels like something ain't right, he's going to work until he can't get it wrong. Not until he gets it right, until he can't get it wrong. And that young man, I don't worry about his future because I know that whatever he dives into, he goes full bore, and he is going to give it every single thing he has. And he's never going to back down from a challenge, and he's always going to rise to the occasion.
JD, we talked before we came on the air. Matt Painter had an interesting take that kind of asked about Indiana's next head coach, and he kind of went into what I thought was a really well-spoken diatribe about college basketball. In fact, we'll play it for you guys right now.
Had a lot of turnover, obviously. I think you got to look at some of the common denominators here more than anything. I think that's an important piece right here. Like, don't beat yourself. Like, don't beat yourself. Like, let's support somebody. Like, I try that out for once every now and then. When shit goes wrong, like whatever, you think Purdue fans are happy about what just happened? Like, you like, see, a fan base isn't the people that tweet. A fan base is the people when you're bleeding, they support you. Like, they jump in and off, they jump on and off things here way too much. Like, support your coach, man, support your players. Don't tweet negative things about them. Like, be supportive. Like, see how that works for you. But they build them up, like, and they overdo things. Like, quit overdoing shit. Just accurately, like, talk about what's actually happened. Like, don't, like, get, like, recruits and, like, that's Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. Then they come out here. Well, they're not Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. They're good college players. Like, and then they build it up, and then they go, well, what's wrong? Well, they're part of it. But it's not their total fan base. It's just that everyone has a bad percentage of their fan base now because of Twitter. And then we think that's their fan base. It's not our fan base. It's not their real fan base either. And so I think that's an important piece. But it's hard for young people to hear all that and then go out and collectively play like, hey, man, we're playing for you guys, but you dog us when we lose, and then we're the best when we win. Well, we're somewhere in between, right? So, like, I think they need to learn from some of those things.
Fact winning. And, I think because everyone has a voice at this point, well, usually the ones that are using it the most are the dissenters, right? It's not usually the ones who are in support that aren't going to be in the public eye. They're going to be supporting you in the background, and they're going to make sure they know you have their backs, but it's not necessarily going to be as forward-facing as the people who want to whine and complain and moan. And unfortunately, that's kind of the trend that we have moved down. And I think as administrators and as coaches and just as leaders in general, we have to have a little bit more fortitude in terms of supporting those people around us through some of that dissenting that is out there, right? And, I think thin skin comes from confusion. And that confusion leads to tension and anxiety. And so then you're just worried about, maybe losing your job rather than doing your job. And I think when you have clarity over what your expectations are, what your standards are, and how you're going to go about reaching those standards, because the results are one thing, but the process of getting there is what's going to dictate how successful we are. I think you have to be able to take care of that equation in the right way. And I'm not sure that there's as much clarity sometimes that can allow us to have the confidence and the composure in those situations that we need to ride that wave a little bit and to have each other's backs. And that doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be some conflict at times, right? One of our messages to our guys recently has been like, I was on them pretty hard, and I told you I was on your backs today. But sometimes having your back is about being on your back. Problem is, we want to do that in public, and we want to do that in front of people to show how smart we are and show how all we know, when what we really need to do is pull people to the side and make sure that we can do those sort of things more in private and more behind the closed doors so that we can continue to move forward and show that united front to the outside world. And so I think you got to couple that with, again, blocking out the noise of that vocal minority that, again, just if you aren't going to look for somebody's advice, don't care about their opinion.
Absolutely. Jordan Delp, before I let you go, I read someplace that this was the biggest win of the Jordan Delp era, and I kind of chuckled because it was like a year or so ago I was talking about you becoming the head coach. Just kind of talk about that, because it seems like yesterday We were talking about you becoming the head coach at Augustana College. This first season, it's been full of ups and downs and journeys and things you probably expected, things you probably didn't expect. What was your first year like, or has been like, because it's not done yet, but living the dream of being the head coach at your alma mater has got to be fun. But what's this first year been like for you, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I will never look at it as any type of Jordan Delp era, and I hate that I just did any type of third person. But no, I mean, this is Augustana basketball, right? And we need to establish an identity and reestablish a culture that rises far above any one person. This is, in my opinion, this game is the best teacher of civics that we have, right? How much of ourself are we willing to sacrifice for the good of our group? Okay, and I don't think there's any better teacher in sports than basketball in terms of understanding that relationship and how that needs to work together, right? And so if we can continue to instill that we over me attitude in our players, that will be one of the guiding lights and one of the proudest things that I can do with our program, right? And so first and foremost, this is always going to be Augustana basketball. So that other stuff, I personally don't have a lot of time for. But what I would add to that is yes, I mean, we talk about the Augustana way, right? And the Augustana way is being committed enough to doing what you're supposed to do, disciplined enough to do it when you're supposed to do it, and consistent enough to do it the way it's supposed to be done, right? And so the way that I have seen our players and our staff buy in to that message and buy into those values has been extremely fulfilling and has been just a huge benefit to this opportunity. I love those young men, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for them. And those guys have been so resilient through a number of different things, whether it's their first year here or their fifth year here. And so the ability to continue to serve our players and serve our program at or above the level that they have been served in the past, long before I was here, is something that I take very seriously and something that I take a lot of pride in. And obviously this place is very close and near and dear to my heart. I've been coming here since I was going into 8th grade and came to Greg Giovanni's first youth basketball camp, right? And so it's an honor and a privilege to be in this situation and to be in this position. And I need to make sure that I remember to live with gratitude every day in it and take care of those around me, because that's the charge and that's the type of leader that we need to be.
JD, I know you are extremely busy these days, especially with a big game coming up on Tuesday. I think you helped me figure out my week, because the beauty part of doing this show is I'm more available at night. I think I got a young man that practices until about 6:30 and be a easy, quick drive down to the Carver Center to check out a fantastic basketball game. If you're in the area, get down to the Carver Center, make it an appointment to go down there. It was rocking on Saturday night. It should be again on Tuesday. Elmhurst and Augustana CCIW tournament basketball. You know, I always appreciate you. You're too good to me. I appreciate you doing this. I can't wait to talk to you once again in the near future. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on, Matt. And again, thank you to all those fans who made it just such a wonderful environment for our seniors and for our program on Saturday. And like Matt said, we sure hope to see you Tuesday at 7 in that Carver Center as we play some postseason basketball.
I love it. Jordan Delp, Augustana College. JD, we'll talk to you soon. All right, that is Jordan Delp. One of the best in the business, one of the best dudes you're going to find. He's a fantastic basketball coach, but an amazing person. So we thank JD for taking some time during a very busy week here, getting ready for some CCI tournament action on Tuesday evening. Well, we got a lot more to get to. This weekend was big for wrestling as well, including several state champions, including a pair from Bettendorf High School. They'll join us next right here on Off the Air on a Monday.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Monday here in the Quad Cities. It was a huge weekend of state wrestling on both sides of the river in Champaign. A good weekend for some local standouts and a huge weekend in Des Moines for a pair of Bulldogs, now state champions once again. We're joined by Jake Knight on the left and TJ Kester on the right. Fellas, first and foremost, thanks for doing this. Congratulations. TJ, we're going to start with you. Your third straight state championship. I know you've experienced it before. What did it mean to finish your career with yet another state championship?
It was really great. I mean, I went there, I wrestled hard, and it worked out in the end. And I take away all the memories I've had for these past few years, and I can continue with living with those.
So, Jake, talk about that as well, because you're a state titleist for the second straight season. What did it mean to you to go back to Des Moines and get another state title?
I felt good. It gets not easier, but it gets less stressful every time. So,
absolutely. TJ, your third state title. That's the most by anyone at Bettendorf ever. Kind of talk about leaving the mat for the last time. What was that like? And to do so as a three-time state champion had to feel amazing.
Yeah, it felt amazing. I mean, there's a few videos out there with all my teammates in the background celebrating when I was wrestling, and I think that's just an amazing thing.
Jake, we'll go back to you because same thing, maybe same question for you. You get to walk off the mat. Now, mind you, you have another season left, but you get to walk off the mat for the last time as a state champion. What'd that feel like? What'd that mean for you, especially with the support that you've received over the years?
It feels good always to end on the end of the season on top. And,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't know what I was going to say, actually. But
no, you're good. You're good. All right, fellas, you win a team championship, or I should say individual championship, but you also bring home a second place team championship or team trophy. TJ, what does that mean to bring home some hardwood? I know a lot of people, hardware, I should say, a lot of people look at wrestling as an individual sport, but you talk about your teammates and them supporting you. To bring home second place as a team had to feel pretty special as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it felt great. I mean, all our teammates worked hard to get there. And if they didn't wrestle their best every match, then we probably wouldn't have got second.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a full team effort. Jake, take me into that championship match. You win it at 120. Take me through the match itself. When did you feel in control? And obviously when you're playing up there, when you're wrestling up there, you're wrestling against the best the state has to offer.
I felt in control after the first takedown. And I kind of felt him break a little bit. I knew I could continue to score.
What's that feeling like to know, and especially that early, that it could be a big evening, and it had to feel good to know early on that this is something you could accomplish?
Yeah, I felt good. Just getting on my attacks right away and scored inside the first 30 seconds.
So TJ, you get to head off to college. You're going to go to Iowa State next year. Jake, you get one more year left here. TJ, do you have any advice for the youngin next to you in order to maybe match you with a third straight state title next year?
Just continue wrestling hard, and whatever happens will happen next year.
Jake, you're heading to Oklahoma. You know where you'll go to college, but you have that next year left. What does it mean to get another year, wrestle with or under, I should say, your dad, and to kind of leave a legacy for your own at Bettendorf? A lot of goals going into your senior season, I should say.
Yep. Just trying to end my last season on top and finish my career strong.
Take me through wrestling for your dad. What's it been like so far? Obviously, I'm sure you probably started crawling and then wrestling. What it mean to have that guy with you, and what's that relationship been like, not just at home, but on the mats as well?
It's pretty cool to have him in my corner, and I just try to enjoy every match because I only have one more season left.
Who's a better wrestler?
Probably him because I lost. So
that's a very good answer, because a lot of sons would just simply say them. That's a well thought out answer. TJ, now that you get a little bit of a break, you win a state championship, your third straight. I know you guys train, your eating's ridiculous, all that kind of stuff. Is there anything you do to let yourself go a little bit or celebrate or anything like that, especially when it comes to food wise? What's the celebration meal like after you win last night?
Well, always after the state tournament, if anyone makes it to the finals, at the hotel when we get back, we always have a little pizza party, and we kind of everyone has little speeches, and we share like how that season's gone.
Jake, what about you? Is there anything during the season that you're like, man, I wish I could hammer this or that? Or what do you do to let yourself go? Or do you let yourself go a little bit after you win a state championship?
I kind of eat whatever I want during the season, so I like ice cream, so.
There you go. There you go. I love it. Representing this program, guys, it's a storied program. TJ, I'll start with you. What's it mean to represent this program, a program that's done so much, under a head coach that's accomplished so much? What's it mean to add to the legacy, I should say, of Bettendorf Wrestling?
Well, it just feels real special to know I'm part of something that's been going on for a long time, and I hope that it continues to grow and get better.
Jake, same question for you, with obviously knowing you got that 1 year left. What's it like to continue to build a program that's done so many special things over the years?
Just try to, we lose TJ and Duncan hard, so we got to keep building, and hopefully we can get first or second or in the top three again.
You mentioned that. Now you kind of go from, not that you're not a leader already, but you're going to be a senior. You're going to be the old guy. Did you look at this year's seniors and how they led, how they kind of handled the room, and kind of prepare yourself for what they did? Because I'm sure they had a great leadership method about what they did this past season.
Yeah, kind of, but we kind of all work as a team and kind of work together as leaders.
Absolutely. Before I let you guys go, the sport of wrestling, it's a sport I didn't grow up around, but quickly when I started covering the area 25 years ago, I had a ton of respect for. TJ, I'll start with you. What is it about this sport that you've come to love? Because it's hard, man. I've seen the room. I've seen what you guys go through all the time. What's it about this sport that's special to you?
Just really rewarding. Like, you work really hard, and in the end, it feels really good when you win. It feels like everything's been paid off.
Absolutely. Jake, I'll give you the same question. What is it about, obviously, that legacy that your old man has probably drew you to the sport a little bit, but what drew you to wrestling, and what do you love about this sport so much?
Kind of like the same thing he said. It's really rewarding, and winning is fun.
Absolutely. Winning is always fun. You two have done a lot of winning over your high school career, and we wish you both the best of luck moving forward. TJ, best of luck at Iowa State. Continue to keep killing it. And Jake, we got one more year of watching you here at Bettendorf before you head off to Oklahoma. Boys, I appreciate you doing this. Best of luck in the future, and congrats again on those state championships.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right. That is Jake Knight and TJ Koester, state champions for the Bettendorf Bulldogs, helping lead the Bulldogs to a second place team finish in Des Moines this past weekend. We got a lot more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Monday. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Monday here in the Quad Cities. It was a busy weekend of college basketball with a lot of good games, a lot of intrigue, and a few bad calls along the way. And when it comes to bad calls, we turn to the worst referee in the Quad Cities. No, I'm kidding. Don Umland, local referee, does high school basketball, college umpiring, and local umpiring. Also is an official for baseball as well. Donnie, happy Monday. Thanks for doing this.
Much appreciated. Back in the swing of things. I did baseball this weekend, so we're in two sports right now. Busy at it.
I love it. I love it. So when there is a bad call or a controversial call that everybody's talking about, I like to bring Don on and kind of talk about it a little bit. And we mentioned earlier in the show when we talked with Pat Angerer, the Iowa women, a really good effort against a very good UCLA team, tied late in the game. Lucy Olson gets called for a foul, and I think the rest of Hawkeye Nation didn't appreciate the screen. Can you kind of talk about it a little bit? Because, yes, I think Lucy Olson, as a result of maybe a moving screen, fouled the UCLA player, but I think we got lost in what happened. So when you watch that play, what did you see, Don?
You're effectively right. This all starts with the screen, and the validity of the screen really caused the play to occur. And I looked at this in a couple different ways. Like, we talk about trusting officials and picking up on a call, because you can see the trail officials working really hard to cover the dribbler, which she should. And the off ball or center or slot official, as we call it, needs to be aware of that screen jumping out. And you really have to trust your partner in your eyes, because you can't be jumping back and forth and not see the whole play. And I have a sense that the whole play wasn't seen. The trip occurs, and then the subsequent, the second person got caught, and the foul is called, unfortunately, at a big time in the game.
Yeah, and I think, Don, a lot of times you think moving screens, you think like the obvious ones where guys are moving or they're not set. Kind of talk about what a moving screen is, because is it leaning? Obviously, in this situation, the UCLA player had her leg kind of sticking out, almost tripping Lucy Olson. So I think a lot of people think moving screen and they need to see a player going from one side to another. Effectively, a tripping or a leg out or an arm out is a moving screen as well, isn't it?
Yeah, because the screens are designed to be set up within the body or frame of our framework, not to be quote extended out chicken winging. You hear knees coming out. But one important thing to say about a screen, and this doesn't apply to this one, but if you don't have contact on a screen, and I do this, but there's no contact, there's no foul. In this case, albeit was slight, it's a foul because she was probably, outside her frame, and you need to be set before the screen is set. And I don't think we had that element either. So we had a lot of things just come together up there at the elbow, which is a transitional area between officials. And that's why it's really important that partners know their responsibilities and pick those things up.
The other thing I was going to talk to you about when it comes to the Iowa game is, you still have those people texting or tweeting or whatever that say, swallow the whistles, Don. Don't let the referees dictate a game or determine a game in the final seconds. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but you have to continue to call a game the same way you have for the prior, 39 minutes and 30 seconds and the last 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. What's your mindset, your crew's mindset when it comes to the final seconds of a game, the end of a game? Is there anything to the validity of, hey guys, if there's not something obvious, we're not going to call it? Or what's your mindset, I guess, when it comes to the end of a game as an official?
Well, and you've been there before, Matt, in situations where you'll see us come together as a crew, especially under a minute. We want to know the status of the ball, the situation, and we talk about, let's make sure it's there. Does that mean offer of consistency for the first 39 minutes? Yes, but I would like to think at the end of the day, Matt, if you watch that tape and you see, tough, Don's got, or whoever's got to make a call, but there's a call that has to be made, because it goes both ways. If I don't make a call, I'm hurting the other team effectively by passing on something. Or if I have to call something, because there's two teams that are involved in this. I just want to make sure at the end of the day, when you look back at it, you may not agree, but something had to be judged.
No, I completely agree. So referees, officials get bad raps, and obviously they're human. They make mistakes, all those kind of things. The Arizona game on Friday night, a good example of, maybe a phantom call that cost a team a game. Yesterday, you and I and Drake play a great game where Titan Anderson gets fouled out at the end of the game on a double foul in overtime, I think, might have cost you and I a game. And after the game, Ben Jacobson flat out said, hey, that's the worst call I've seen in 19 years of doing this. And then you have the flip side, and I'm going to play this for us, of a guy like Tommy Lang at Arizona, whose team, it was a bad call, but this is the approach that he took.
I mean, whatever. What am I going to say? I mean, you hate for a game to be decided by that. I mean, Trey, I feel horrible for him. The guy didn't play in the second half. I tightened the rotation. He played good defense. Guy's pivoting, throws his shoulder at him, throws up a shot and falls down. It's a foul with 2 seconds to go. I mean, listen, it's the Big 12. That's what I'm told. And the guy who called it's one of the best refs. So, we got to live with it. But step back. They scored 93 points up to that point on our home court. That's the problem.
You hear that end part. And Pat Anger talked about it early in the show, and I hate giving Pat any credit about anything, but yeah, there's bad calls at the end of the game, and it's unfortunate when they are, but there's a ton of calls during the game. There's hundreds of calls, thousands maybe of calls during a game. You're not going to get them all right, and you hate to get them wrong at the end, Don, but it is the nature of the beast, and you have to like hearing coaches put things in perspective to maybe chill out the fans that feel like they've been wronged, that they're never going to get that back, and it's the worst thing that's ever happened to them in their life. You like hearing stuff like that, don't you?
I do, and I thought Jan Jensen did a great job in her post game. Just going back to more local, she talked about, we lost that game in the third quarter potentially with, bad possessions, getting out rebounded. She didn't harp on the call at the end, but obviously that's what generates conversation. It's a hot topic. It's the end of the game. But you're right. We could have a bad call in the first half, and it might catch some scrutiny at the moment, but we all have to move on and start playing. And that's the great, I'm going to say a really good official knows how to game manage a coach through that situation. You might have to eat it and just say, I missed it. You might have to tell them I'd like another look at it. Or you might have conviction that you got it right and you got to hold your firmness at the time because that's what you believe. But there's a dynamic that goes on within whatever sport and game you happen to be working.
No, I completely. Hey, even the best of the best mess up calls. Like Kevin Ferris 2 years ago blatantly missed an over and back call in the 7th grade basketball at Jordan. Blatantly 100% missed it. He knows it. I don't know how he sleeps at night, Don, but he does. So even the best of the best, like Kevin Ferris, gets one wrong every now and then.
Wait a minute. Are we saying Kevin's one of the best? Boy, oh boy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's no Sergio, but
I
he does
understand.
okay. He does okay. So, Don, I appreciate you. Later in the week, because this weekend is Elimination Chamber. So later
Yes, it
this
is.
week, I think yourself, Tom Kakert, and myself have to do a little segment, maybe on Thursday or Friday, about Elimination Chamber coming out to the old house. And by the way, as on a personal note, as a friend, I'll be by the office later today. I finally have your Christmas gift.
It's going to be a fun week, Matt, because besides, with wrestling coming, which is always near and dear to my heart, we got high school tournament basketball really cranking up. I'm working 4 nights this week, so all over the state of Iowa, and it's a fun time of year where atmosphere and everything's a little bit more on the line, and we might have a little bit to talk about. You never know, but it does make for a great time of year.
I love it. Don, don't mess it up. Like I always say to you, don't mess it up. We'll talk to you later this week.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. That is Don Umland, kind of talking about some controversial calls that happened over the weekend and putting things in perspective a little bit as well. We got one more break on OTA. We'll wrap up a busy Off the Air on a Monday right after this.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Monday here in the Quad Cities. A much better Monday than anything last week. The sun's kind of shining out there. It's supposed to be 50-some degrees this afternoon. So just made the mistake during one of the commercial breaks. I went and let the dog out and then did the show and came back. And when she came in, she, how they have that snow and everything on the ground. Well, that turned into mud. So I have a kitchen and a living room to clean up because the dog... had some fun outside, as should everyone this afternoon. Get outside, enjoy the decent weather, because it'll probably be cold again next week as well. Hey, earlier in the show, didn't get a chance to talk about it with Pat Angerer, but didn't know about it until researching throughout the show. But some breaking news this morning for the Iowa football team. Running back coach Liddell Betts has agreed to become the running back coach with the New York Giants, so making a move to the NFL. Got to interview Liddell Betts several times. Outstanding dude, really good recruiter, especially down south in the Florida area as well. So a little later than normal too, when you have coaching changes, to be sitting here almost March and now having to look for maybe a new running back coach or what may be with the Iowa basketball or the Iowa football team. So we'll kind of watch that. Talk to Tom Caker tomorrow a little bit about that as we get ready for Iowa and Illinois tomorrow. That's right. It's the best rivalry in our area, and it seems like no one gives a damn because the Illini are struggling, and Iowa basketball has struggled this year as well. So, but I think you throw out the records when these two teams get together. It's Iowa versus Illinois tomorrow down in Champaign. We'll have Ken Prince and Tom Caker on tomorrow, my two good friends representing the Hawkeyes and the Illini to kind of talk about their two teams, where those two teams are going, the rivalry, all that kind of stuff. We'll have some fun with Tom and Ked coming up later tomorrow on the show. Of course, we want to thank our guest today, Pat Angerer, as always on a Monday, talking about everything. And that's normally what I do with Pat. I don't write anything down. We just chat, and I don't think we got ourselves in trouble today, but we'll go back and review the tape. Maybe we did. It was great to catch up with Jordan Delp. A huge weekend for the Augustana basketball program. A great finish to the season. They won 6 of their last 7. They finished 4th in the very good CCIW. They'll host a playoff game, a tournament game, I should say, a CCIW conference tournament game coming up on Tuesday. It's Elmhurst and Augustana at the Carver Center at 7 o'clock. The atmosphere was awesome on Saturday night. Let's match it again on Tuesday. Not just the Augustana community, but the Augustana basketball program has done a good job reaching out to the Quad City basketball community as well. It wasn't long ago that team and that program was going to Final Fours, and the electricity at the Carver Center can be like none other. So we'll see how that goes on Tuesday. If you missed our interview with Jordan Delp, also some interesting feedback when it came to Brock Harding, how he's been playing, and of course Brock's tweet over the weekend that everyone loves to talk about, kind of addressing the haters, if you will. So go check out Jordan Delp as well. Get down to the Carver Center on Tuesday night. We're also joined by a pair of Bettendorf wrestlers and TJ Kester and Jake Knight, both winning state championships this past weekend. A busy weekend of high school wrestling. Congratulations to all the competitors on both sides of the river that made it to state, and of course brought home state hardware. That is very, very impressive. Don Umland on the last segment to talk about some controversy when it comes to calls on the hardwood, especially on the college level this past weekend. If you are watching us live on YouTube, we really do appreciate that. If you're watching us on X, we thank you as well. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that. We're getting very, very close to 700 subscribers. Want to get to 700, work our way up towards 1,000, help support a fun little program that we started about 6-7 weeks ago right here in the Quad Cities. And if you missed any of the shows, or if you just simply don't want to look at me because I don't blame you, you can check us out on all of the podcasting platforms as well. So make sure you do that. Apple Pod, Podbean, Spotify, iHeart, you name it, we are on it. And we are just getting warmed up this week. A lot more to get to. As I mentioned, tomorrow, all about Iowa versus Illinois, that big matchup coming up on Tuesday evening down in Champaign. So we'll focus on that. Also efforting Gary Dolphin later this week, and much, much more. So working our way through the week, a lot of great high school action going on as well. It's a great time of year. So if you missed anything from today's show or last week's shows as well, make sure you go check us out on the YouTube page, Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. That'll do it for today's show. We'll be back with a brand new episode of Off the Air coming up tomorrow.